All right, I'm Chris Cuomo. Very happy to be joined by Elizabeth Vargas and Dan Abrams, and you're going to see Leland Vittert again in just a moment because we have a special 2-hour NewsNation event for you. We're going to be going live at some point this hour to Bedminster, New Jersey. Donald Trump is expected to be making a speech from his Trump National Golf Course, capping up another unprecedented day in the trials and tribulations of Trump. He is now the first former president, the first front runner for a major party presidential nomination to be arraigned on serious federal charges. We've got great guests, some of the best and brightest minds on both sides to give analysis and what this means going forward. The former president arraigned on 37 counts, of course. The nucleus of it is about his refusal to return documents that were classified, about national interests, and why. No cameras allowed in the courtroom, limited members of the press and public present. But the main question facing Trump and the nation is whether the former president is going to wind up in prison.
So Donald Trump pled not guilty to the charges, which included 31 counts of willful retention of national defense information. 1 count, conspiracy to obstruct justice. 1 count of withholding a document or record. 1 count, corruptly concealing a document or record. 1 count of concealing a document in a federal investigation. 1 count of scheme to conceal. 1 count of false statements and representations. Donald Trump will be released without having to pay a bond. He will not have to surrender his passport or restrict his personal travel. The only specific restriction that he's going to have is with regard to not speaking to other witnesses about the case, and that could involve a lot of the people around him.
A lot of people around him. And as well, Mr. Trump's personal aide, Walt Nauta, was also indicted and charged with lying to investigators, scheming with former President Trump to move and hide documents from the FBI and from federal prosecutors, and was also present today before the magistrate judge. He did not enter a plea and asked for a 2-week extension to secure a local lawyer to represent him. That is different, of course, from the former president, who also did not speak. But his lawyer, Todd Blanche, on his behalf, offered a plea of, quote, definitely not guilty, Your Honor.
And look, the former president was right to play to politics, not just in the courtroom, but afterwards. He went to that famous South Florida spot, Cafe Versailles. I know it's Versailles, but they say Versailles down there.
Right.
And there was a warm embrace from the Cuban community. They were literally praying for him in the place. And, you know, you and I feel differently about it, but the proposition we agree on. He needs prayers right now because he could be looking at a conviction here. And then the question is, what happens next?
Yeah. Look, it is amazing. We just got to sort of take a step back and say the former president of the United States was indicted. OK, you know, everyone says, oh, unprecedented. To me, the more unprecedented part is that he's making a campaign stop out of the arraignment. Right. That is the ultimate example of how law and politics are intersecting here, is that a strategic decision was made that, OK, after the arraignment, we're going to go and make a campaign stop.
This was not a, like, oh, hey, let's stop and get a donut.
No, this was a decision
planned.
that was made.
Exactly.
And this just shows you how important politics is here. Remember, if Donald Trump wins the election and there is no trial, even if there is a trial and there's still an appeal, he will figure out a way to end this federal case if he wins the election. He's literally campaigning for his freedom. And that's why this case is so different.
He actually, on the way in the motorcade to the courthouse today to enter his plea, was, I don't know what it's not tweeting, but it's on Truth Social, his social media website.
He was truthing.
He was truthing.
Yeah.
Solicitations, first of all, saying our country is in terrible decline, this is a terrible injustice, and by the way, please send me money.
Yeah.
Tonight's appearance at Bedminster is not just a chance for him to address his supporters and the public and the voters across this country and the people he's hoping to sway to his opinion. It's also another opportunity for him to raise a lot of money.
And it's resonating.
A ton of money.
And it's resonating. And this is why I think it's really important to distinguish each case based on the facts, right? Meaning, we talked about the New York case a lot. I said on my show regularly, I thought that case was incredibly weak. I thought it was politicized.
And you're not the only one.
Right. And this case is different. It's different in the facts. It's different in the motivations, et cetera.
The worst thing he's faced. His defenders don't say the key thing, which you always want said if someone's defending you. He didn't do it.
Right.
They pleaded not guilty today. Now he's saying it now. He had to say it today if he wanted to go home. But he is not getting that kind of defense because when you read the indictment, it's got more meat on the bones than we're used to seeing. Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.